A white man was walking along the beach and he discovered a magic lamp. Leaned over, he picked it up, he rubbed the lamp. Genie popped out. Hello, you have found my lamp. I will grant you three wishes. White man got really excited. He made his first wish. Poof! All of a sudden, he was the owner of a glorious mansion. This thing was sprawled out, you know, 50 bedrooms. It looked like a palace. He's really excited. White man then decided to make his second wish. The genie waved his arms. Poof! Second wish was there. The house is just filled with like the most beautiful women ever on the planet. I mean, you name them. He got so many fine ass bitches in there. Everything is just laid out. So now you got the house, you got the women. Boom. Then it was time for him to make his third wish. And he made the wish, and all of a sudden there was a knock at the door. And there was a bunch of Klansmen there, and they grabbed the white man. They took him outside of his home, tied a rope around his neck, hung him from a tree, and burned a cross in his yard. The genie was very perplexed, and he said, in all my years serving humans, they never change. They always ask for big houses. They always ask for women and money. So, but the third, the third request perplexed me a little bit. He said, why did he want to be hung like a nigger? But that was my version of a Paul Mooney joke that I heard him tell that on one of his comedy specials. And we just lost Paul Mooney, 2 days ago, and I was thinking about that and what I wanted to say. There's a lot I could, this particular episode. I'm calling it "Black is the New White," which is the title of Paul Mooney's uh, book that he wrote. It's at least 10 years ago he wrote that. But yeah, "Black is the New White." I think it's still available on Amazon if anybody wants to check that out from Paul Mooney. There's a lot I want to say about Paul Mooney. Um, I loved his career. Even like the early days, I remember when I was a kid, he used to be, he was a writer on Sanford and Son. And there's some of the old episodes where he was one of the cops showed up at Fred Sanford's house, and Paul Mooney was one of the officers. And he was all on television. Man, what was this? This is an old movie. I'm trying to remember. There's a clip of it on YouTube where he played Sam Cooke. Was it? I don't think it might have been the Buddy Holly one with I can't remember that guy's name. It might have been the Buddy Holly movie, but it might not. I'm not sure. But Paul Mooney played Sam Cooke in that movie, and he was in it for a few scenes, and I saw that 40 years ago. Um, and just like I said, working with Richard Pryor, he would pop up on television, but not at least not on my television. I mean, I was in the South, so Paul Mooney would not pop up on my television all that often. I know he went out on tour with Eddie Murphy. He was the opening act on the Raw tour when Eddie Murphy was doing Raw, and he always told that story that a lot of comedians when they do a big tour like that, they don't want the guy opening up in front of them to be funnier. And I hear comedians. I listen to Corey Holcomb's show all the time, the 5150 show, and he says a lot of comedians do sucker shit like that, where when they're taking a guy out on the road, they try to take a guy out that's, he can warm up the crowd and get a few chuckles, but you don't want somebody that's funnier than you, because if that guy comes out and he just blows them away and he's funny and you the headliner, it's gonna make them go, well, what the fuck did I pay all this money to come see this dumbass for? Because he ain't as funny as the guy that's opening up for him. And so a lot of what Corey Holcomb was saying was a lot of comedians do lame shit like that, where if somebody's funny, they don't want to give them a chance. They try to get somebody that's like I said, mediocre, good enough to get the job done, but they don't want you to shine. They'll give you, they don't want somebody that's gonna do better than them. And Paul Mooney said the same thing about Eddie Murphy. Like Eddie Murphy, he was actually surprised Eddie Murphy asked him to open up for him on the Raw tour, because he said that he did not want, uh, he didn't want to be lazy. And he knew that if Paul opened up for him, he was going to be on his shit and everything was going to be on point. And, he was going to, he would have to work. He couldn't take no off days. Paul Mooney opening up for you, you got to come out there and have your shit tight every night. And that's what he wanted, because he was, he knew he was having to make that move. But man, yeah, rest in peace to the legend, Paul Mooney. I just wanted to say that as I open up the show. But with that, let me get into it. This is episode 97. I had somebody ask me, they said, hey, can you start numbering the episodes? He's like, you got a lot of episodes. So I'm not going to go back in, because there's so many. I didn't realize I had so many damn episodes. This is actually episode 97. So on my, like if you're following me on whatever platform you're streaming this on, like say if you're on Stitcher or whatever the hell, we got uh we had 96 other episodes besides this one. This is episode 97, so we almost got 100 episodes, because I took everything, Sexy Party and the Jill Stream episodes and everything are all, it's all me. So since it's all me, I just took it and it's all one podcast, so it's all on one playlist. You can listen to everything, and it is what it is. But this is going to be episode 97. So this is, of course, the Ikari Press podcast. You are listening on another platform. You go, we've got a playlist on my YouTube channel. That is youtube.com/Ikari Press. The podcast, of course, is available for streaming. We are on Apple Podcasts, Google, Spotify, Amazon, iHeartRadio. We are now on Audible. The good folks at Audible, you can check us out on there. Just type in Ikari Press. We should come right up. We are also the direct line to my podcast, anchor.fm/Ikari Press. And want to acknowledge our fine sponsors over at southernmuffin.com. Southernmuffin.com. Put some stuffing on your muffin, baby. Go over to southernmuffin.com. You and your significant other, and you can pick out some fine scented candles, other little things to help spice up that love life. Go to southernmuffin.com and check that out. Also want to talk about my comic, Daym Drop Super Official. You can get that at daymcomic.com, daymcomic.com. And we've also got brand Way of the Gun at akaripress.com. You can get that akaripress.com brand Way of the Gun. Speaking of Daym, I saw I had been sworn to secrecy some time ago where I could not reveal certain things. Daym had mentioned, when he was out filming last year, that he had some he was not ready to announce where his television show. He was filming his television show, but he couldn't tell everybody where it was going to be. and now he has made that announcement, and we know that his new television show, which is called Fresh, Fried, and Crispy, is it's already up. You can see the trailer on Netflix. It's gonna be that's where Dame's show is going to be. So it's going to be Fresh, Fried, and Crispy, June 9th on Netflix. You can, like I said, if you just type it in, it'll come up, and you can like add it to your favorites and everything and check it out. But of course, like I said, Daym Drops Super Official at DameComic.com as well. Really proud. Kanan has turned in another page that just looks incredible. We're getting colors on a lot of this stuff, so got a update that I'm about to do and kind of get everything out there. So, but yeah, I appreciate everyone that has supported that project as well. So, yeah, Dame Drop Super Official. All right, so let me see. So I did my little intro. Told my here's another. What was the other Paul? I had another Paul Mooney joke about the genie. Okay, so it's the same thing with the genie. Okay, so uh, black woman is walking along, and she discovers the lamp, and she rubs the lamp. The genie pops out. You have found my lamp. I will grant you two wishes. And the black woman goes, wait a minute. I thought I was supposed to get three wishes. The genie looks at her and says, you're a nigga. You only get two. So the black woman goes, okay, for my first wish, I want you to make a bridge that goes from America all the way to Africa so that when white folks get on my nerves, we can just get on the bridge and go home. And the genie looks at her and says, I'm a genie, bitch, not God. Next wish. The black woman thanks and she goes, I want you to make everybody equal. I want you to make the the world where blacks and whites have the same rights. You know, they're not out here killing us. Everybody is equal. That's what I want my second wish to be. And the genie looks at her and goes, how would you like that bridge? Would you like it made out of wood, concrete, or steel? End of joke. So that is and believe me, I know Paul Mooney told it a whole lot better. But I was listening to Paul Mooney the other night when they said he fast, and I happened to listen to that joke, and I was especially I like when he gets to the black woman, and the genie tells her she only got the two wishes, and she was like, wait a minute, I thought I was supposed to get you're a nigga, you only get two. And I was looking at, and I've seen all these celebrities. Hollywood's kind of crazy for me. I'm seeing all the celebrities, sending out their well wishes to Paul Mooney's family, and a lot of legends, Dave Chappelle, and Kevin Hart, and I saw Marlon Wayans, and there was just so many different celebrities. Um, it was, a lot of people forget, and I'm not trying to be negative, but like that about that last year and a half, 2 years of Paul Mooney's life was not actually the best situations, because it had come out, and it was, or at least let me say, it was alleged that Paul Mooney had fucked Richard Pryor's son when he was underage. This was something that I guess somebody wrote a book or something. Say it had been an accusation had been made. Richard Pryor's son, who is a gay man now, um, there was a clip of him kind of, he didn't want to come right out and say he had had sex with Paul Mooney, but the TMZ people had pulled up on him, and they asked him, and he said some stuff, and it kind of made it sound like he had at least had some kind of thing going with Paul Mooney. The whole thing was weird. Um, there's a clip of an old bodyguard of Richard Pryor's, and he had mentioned that Richard Pryor was going to pay a hitman to kill Paul Mooney because he found out that Paul Mooney had fucked his son underage. And the only reason Paul Mooney was still alive was because shortly after Richard Pryor had talked to this bodyguard, and they was planning on getting somebody to handle the business, was because shortly after that Richard Pryor burned himself up with the messing around with the freebase. He had that, and he was in the hospital and he had to get all those skin grafts and everything. And after that, him and Paul squashed whatever. If they had issues, they got squashed. Like I said, Paul Mooney's family said this whole thing was bullshit and this dude was just looking for clout or whatever. Although, like I said, I did see the clip of Richard Pryor's son, and this is his son that was alleged to have had, and he did not deny that him and Paul Mooney had messed around. But it sounded like he was kind of making it sound like it wasn't consensual, or at least if the whole thing was weird. And like I said, maybe I shouldn't even mention it, but um, they had kind of taken at the last year Paul Mooney's twins, uh, his twin sons who are both comedians. I used to see them on different. They had appeared on like Def Comedy Jam, and I think they were on Uptown Comedy Club and stuff. But they're twins, and like I said, their father's comedian, they're a comedian. Um, I think Paul Mooney. I don't think he had six children, but he said he raised six children. I think he took in one of his sister's kids or two of his sister's kids as well. But I mean, he had like three or four of his own, and I think he took in a couple of his family's children and stuff and helped raise them. But yeah, he was like, I raised six children, this kind of thing. Um, but his sons announced that Paul Mooney had dementia last year. So a lot of this stuff, so it was kind of crazy. Paul was battling dementia, and then you got this guy coming out going, "Oh, this guy, Paul Mooney, fucked this dude's son and did all this kind of shit," and the whole thing was just, like I said, it was terrible because I hated that, because Paul Mooney's career was so long and he did so much. He worked on In Living Color. He's the guy that created Homie the Clown, and the stuff he did with Dave Chappelle with the Negro Damas and Ask a Black Dude, and this stuff he did was just, everything was crazy. I loved it. Paul Mooney was a genius, and so I hate, and he was clearly tight with whatever happened. Him and Richard, if there was an issue at the end of Richard Pryor's life, him and Paul Mooney would definitely, they were down like four flat tires. These are facts. There's a, I can't remember. I think it was on Comedy Central or something. There was some kind of comedy. I think they broadcast it on Comedy Central, but they were honoring Richard. They knew Richard. Richard had he had Parkinson's or whatever the hell. Where he's shaking, and he had multiple sclerosis or something. One of those nerve disorders. And at the end of his life, he could barely talk, and he was in a wheelchair and all this kind of, and they know Richard is gonna leave us, and they, want to, what they always say, give that man his flowers while he's still with us. So they were like, he was getting honored by a lot of people, and um, Paul Mooney was with him. Paul Mooney was with him, right next to him, helping him, and kind of helping him move around, and kind of when he, they would put a line, a microphone up to him, and try to get a little quick word out. Paul Mooney was like feeding him lines and giving him funny stuff to say. They were definitely. Richard Pryor did not look like he was being held hostage. He looked like that was his friend, and that's his man's, and so that's why I'm saying, if this is true and Paul had some kind of sexual relation, which obviously that's a violation, but shit happens between friends. All um, that's a weird situation. in the whole thing. But it looked like at the end of Richard's life, him and Paul were still real cool, and you know, Paul loved him and he loved Paul. That's what it looked like. You know, maybe they were both faking it or whatever, but it looked like whatever issue there was got settled 35 years prior. Um, Although, like I said, if it's true and he had done something inappropriate with his son and it was not consensual, I can understand why he might have a problem with that. Um, but yeah, I didn't want to sugarcoat that and just be like, oh yes, he was a great man, please, blah blah blah. But yeah, like I said, it was kind of sad the way that happened towards the end of Paul Mooney's life because we didn't see him. I was following the Paul Mooney Twitter account. And he would be tweeting stuff out, and I was like, this don't feel like Paul Mooney. I remember this was like 3 or 4 years ago. He was just tweeting stuff out, and I was like, and then you see Paul Mooney on television. He was like, I don't understand this social media stuff and all this, and I said, I got you. That's somebody that is, but a lot of celebrities like there's a lot of times um a celebrity is not really handling their social media accounts. You see some, you can kind of tell when it actually is a celebrity. Um, there's I've talked about Dame's got me where I'm running his Facebook page. And his Facebook page has like about 3.4 million people following it. And so I just like post articles on there, post different things that Daym is promoting and stuff on that page. And sometimes people will like DM the page and stuff, and they be thinking they talking to Daym, and and I had to tell them, I was like, Dame's here sometimes, and he's not. 99% of the time when you like DM that page, it's not Daym, it's me. And I'm saying 99% of the time, it's not him because he don't really fuck with that page like that, but he just, he needs it to promote shit. So like his Instagram stuff. He used to tweet a little bit more often. He don't really fool with his Twitter that much either. But he don't like Twitter that much, but he loves Instagram. Anybody that follows Daym, if you follow him on Instagram, he posts on Instagram 5-6 times a day sometimes. And that's what I use. Like I'll tell you, like I'll take some of the better stuff that he posts on his Instagram, and I'll take that shit, and that's what I'll post on his Facebook and stuff. And then when he makes his YouTube videos, I'll put those on the Facebook, that kind of stuff. And then I'll take some of my videos and stuff that I do on my YouTube channel, and I'll post that, or different articles and stuff like that, like food related content or something that I think is entertaining, and different memes that Daym thinks is fun. Daym likes to share memes and stuff. So like sometimes he'll share a meme and I'll go, oh, that'll be funny for the page, and I'll share. And it's been very interesting. It's been a learning experience trying to kind of navigate through those waters. And kind of, you know, uh as I've been working with Daym and showing him, been showing him different artwork from the comic book and different things. He's really liking how the book's coming together. I think, man, once we getting these colors in, that's one thing I will say, man. These colors are coming in on the book, and this is some of the best work. I think Kanan's work looks incredible on it. I'm really excited to see how everything is gonna once we actually go to print. I think everything's gonna be really good. So, let me see. So, I know one thing I wanted to talk about was Seth Rogen. Seth Rogen's been doing a lot of press lately. He's got a book out. He just wrote some kind of an autobiography. It's called Yearbook, and so he's been doing a lot of press over the last like few weeks. He's everywhere. He went on Conan O'Brien's podcast, and he told this crazy ass story about George Lucas, which George Lucas. Everybody knows me, knows how big of a Star Wars fan I am. So it's like kind of crazy because like George, he's telling this crazy ass story about George Lucas, and I guess he was like some kind of business meeting. I'm trying to think, did he say Steven Spielberg's house or something? They were. I think he did say he was at Steven Spielberg's house and he was meeting with him, and George Lucas was there, and like he got up and left the room, and it was just him and his. I think it was his. His producer partner, Evan Goldberg, who he does all his different TV shows and stuff with. Like if you look, uh, all like for the last like 15 years they produce shit together, like the Green Hornet movie. What was it, that Preacher television show that was on AMC? The Boys, Invincible, like all this stuff, So it's like it's uh you know Seth and Evan Goldberg. So it's it's kind of, well, like I said, so he gets up, and him and George Lucas are talking, and he tells this story. Um, Seth Rogen does on the Conan O'Brien thing, where apparently George Lucas believed that the world was going to end when a lot of people, what was that, in 2012 or so, when everybody was saying that the Mayan calendar was going to run out and that it was supposed to, a lot of people thought that the world was going to end because that's when the Mayan calendar ended or whatever. And apparently George Lucas believed this. And they were talking about, you know, rich people having like a spaceship where where they would make sure they were saved, and some kind of way to survive when everybody else dies. It was and Seth Rogen said that he had asked George Lucas if he could have a ride. Could he catch a ride on George Lucas's space shuttle or whatever the fuck? And George Lucas was like, no. And he was like very matter of fact. And he was like, damn, George Lucas was kind of cold. And the whole thing was weird. He had a couple of stories that were really kind of, a lot of this shit's in his book, but he told that story, the whole thing with, you know, that George Lucas was like, hey, if the world ends, I've got a contingency plan. And Seth Rogen's like, "Yo, can I catch a ride?" And George Lucas just kept it 100 with him. He was like, "No." And in the way he said it, the shit was funny. But like I said, check out Conan O'Brien. I didn't know Conan O'Brien had a podcast, but some of this stuff that Seth Rogen's been saying was kind of going viral. He was getting a lot. He's been getting a lot of press because of some of the um in his book, he names names. A lot of these celebrities, they do these books and they'll go certain someone, or they'll change the name. They won't say names. Seth Rogen is naming fucking names. He putting that shit out there. He not bullshit. So he told a crazy story about Nick Cage. He told this story on Howard Stern because he went on Howard Stern, and some of that shit. So they got some clips. This just went down. About a week or so ago, and Seth Rogen went on Howard Stern to promote Yearbook, and he told a story about Nick Cage, and somebody actually got a comment from Nick Cage after the story came out. But Seth Rogen's on Howard Stern, and he's talking about Nick Cage. And okay, so anybody that follows Nick Cage knows he's like me. Nick Cage is a big comic book fan, right? He loves comics. So Nick Cage loves comic books, but so does Seth Rogen. So Seth Rogen was playing, he's doing the Green Hornet movie, and he was like, "Oh man, we'd love to get Nicolas Cage to be like the villain in the Green Hornet movie." And so he had some kind of had a dinner with Nicolas Cage, and which it sounded like that. I don't know what's going on in Hollywood. The whole shit sounds crazy. But here's what you got to remember about Nick Cage, and this is true. Remember, Nick Cage named his fucking son Kal-El. He named his son Kal-El. He didn't give him a normal name. He gave him Superman's Kryptonian name, and it's for real. But then who was that? I know Kevin Smith named his daughter Harley Quinn, and what was it? Penn Jillette from Penn and Teller named his daughter Moxie Crime Fighter. So some Hollywood people are crazies, but yeah, Nicolas Cage named his son Kal-El Cage, or probably Coppola, because Nicolas Cage is actually Nicholas Coppola. He's the nephew of was it Talia Shire and Francis Ford Coppola. So he did not want to trade on the fact that his uncle is the guy that directed The Godfather. And so he took Luke Cage's last name. So that's why we got Nicolas Cage. He named himself after Luke Cage, Power Man. So that's what it's kind of. I did not know that Nicolas Cage was actually Francis Ford Coppola's nephew. So that's and Talia Shire, who was, of course, in the Godfather movies, and she was Adrian in the Rocky movies and the whole thing. So that's his auntie. So yeah, that's crazy. I did not know that for the longest. But yeah, Nicolas Cage and Seth Rogen, they're having this lunch or whatever. And Seth Rogen wants him to play the villain in the Green Hornet movie. And Nicolas Cage is into it, right? But he has some conditions. He wants to play the villain, but he wants to play the villain as a Jamaican. They always say Nicolas Cage is very eccentric. And so Nicolas Cage wants to play the villain, but he's like, okay, here's the villain for the Green Hornet movie. I'm a white Jamaican. He said, I'm a white guy, but I'm Jamaican. So I'm a white guy with dreads, but I got a Jamaican accent. And Seth sounded like this shit was so weird, and he couldn't. At first, he thought Nick was fucking with him, and then as they kept talking, he started to realize this motherfucker's not joking. He's for real. He wants to do a white Jamaican guy with the fucking accent and the whole deal, and this shit. And needless to say, if you saw the Green Hornet movie, you know that Nicolas Cage uh, ended up not being in it. So, but this shit he was saying on Howard Stern, this shit just sounded wild. I was like, okay, so we got the George Lucas spaceship thing that apparently Seth Rogen was not welcome on, and now we got the Nicolas Cage wants to be a white Jamaican guy with full accent and everything. Although, what was that movie with Gary Oldman? Damn, I had to look it up. Gary Oldman. Damn. Okay, I gotta look it up. I'm sorry, guys. Hold on. Let me see. Gary Oldman. I'm gonna look it up. Gary Oldman and movies. Let me look. God, I can't believe I love this movie, and I cannot believe I cannot remember this movie. But Gary Oldman was a white guy that thought he was black, and I'm like, yeah, damn. The chick was Alabama. Let me see. Hold on. Let me see. Gary Oldman. Let me see if I can't find it because it's like Alabama. Uh, yeah, yeah. Okay, hold on. Let's see. True Romance. That's it. Yeah, with Christian Bale and what was it Patricia Arquette, and yeah, it's like yeah, Gary Oldman. He played he played the white guy that thought he was like. We'll find Alabama and bring her. And I'm saying it was. I've Gary Oldman's done interviews about that role, and that movie was written by Quentin Tarantino. There was a couple. Quentin Tarantino was making that bread, like polishing up. Uh, he may not have wrote the full movie, but he definitely had screenwriting credits on True Romance. Because he also did some script polish. He did like polishing on the Crimson Tide movie with Denzel Washington. Because I remember this because Denzel he came in and did some rewrites on the Crimson Tide script, and apparently he put a bunch of niggas in the script. And Denzel Washington talked to him, and this story got around Hollywood for a while, that Denzel Washington had a problem with Quentin Tarantino because he did not understand why this white man was writing all this nigga stuff in the script, and wanted him to tone that shit down and take some of those stuff out. Now, if you hear Quentin Tarantino, he talked about, he grew up around a lot of black folks, and his mom dated black men and stuff. So he was saying, like, I didn't know Quentin Tarantino was actually born here in Tennessee, and then they moved. If matter of fact, if you watch some of his movies, he always remember. If you watch Pulp Fiction, Bruce Willis's character, after he threw, he was supposed to throw the fight to that boxer. They were in that boxing, and it was rigged, and so he had agreed to throw the fight, and then he had made all that side bets so he could really clean up and hustle. Um, but the plan, remember, when they escaped, was to meet up in Knoxville, which I think is the city that Quentin Tarantino was born in. And but I've noticed a few of Quentin Tarantino's movies, he'll throw a little Tennessee reference in there, because I didn't know he was born in Tennessee. But yeah, Bruce Willis's character was gonna. He was like, all right, we'll see you in Knoxville or whatever. They're supposed to take a train or whatever the fuck after they got out. I mean, if you've seen Pulp Fiction, you know what I'm talking about. That was the escape. Apparently, Tennessee. You leave California, and Tennessee is apparently a safe place to be. So that's where Bruce Willis's character was headed. But Quentin Tarantino has talked about, there were black men. His mom was dating these really smooth brothers, and he said, it was like the '60s and the '70s or whatever, and these brothers, so you're hearing a lot of black music. He was surrounded by black culture, is what I'm saying. And by his own words, because he's talking about this, he was like, "Yo, man," he's like, my mom was, dating. We had moved out to California, and my mom was dating these black guys, and we got all this good, smooth music in the house, and the way the black guys, he sounded like he was really fascinated by black culture, and so he just sounded like he was one of them down ass white boys and shit, and a couple of them brothers like took him under their wings and talked to him, showed him how to dress a little better, and gave him a little bit of extra swag. And so when you hear, especially younger, like, because Tarantino's like, what, got to be like about 60 years old now, but I know when he was supposedly the quote unquote young director coming in Hollywood, he always seemed a little hipper, a little cooler. He just seemed to have that little bit of swag about him. And I always love, the way, like, the dialogue in like Jackie Brown and Pulp Fiction. I mean, he just had an ear for dialogue. I know I was talking with another writer, Blake Northcott. We were talking on Instagram. We follow each other on there. And she had posted something. She had posted something about, I think it was Kill Bill, the Kill Bill movie. She talking about she loved Tarantino movies, which I love Tarantino movie. And Blake is fucking smoking hot. I mean, she got 2 kids. That woman is fucking beautiful. Jesus Christ, that's a beautiful woman. I mean, it hurts my eyes to look at her. She's so beautiful. And I've told her, she know, because sometimes that's one thing, sometimes she'll do the little Cosby thing, cosplay, and she'll dress up, like, I always get ready around Halloween or something, because I know she posts like different outfits that she's gonna dress up. She'll dress up as, I remember she came out with the little bunny ears. So she's posted all these little cute, sexy pictures. I mean, Blake ain't stupid. She knows she fine as hell. And I don't know if she'll ever hear this, but Blake, you fine as hell. And but she was talking about she liked Tarantino movies, and I happened to mention, Kill Bill 2. And I talked about the Superman scene that David Carradine did with Uma Thurman at the end of that movie, before they had their final showdown. He talked about the differences between Superman, how Superman interacts with humans, and you know, it's such a great dialogue. It's a great performance from David Carradine, um, and the piece of dialogue from Tarantino about Superman, the cape that Superman is wearing is actually his blanket that his mother wrapped him. I mean, the whole thing just that is some of the best dialogue I've ever heard, and um, Tarantino just seems to have an ear for dialogue and everything. So I always been very partial to his movie. So I like that Blake said that she was fond of his movie. And I mentioned to her, I was like, I think that Superman scene in Kill Bill 2 is probably some of the best dialogue I've ever heard on the silver screen. But yeah, like I said, but Tarantino had written that True Romance movie, um, and I guess the director Gary Oldman talked about that. The director had told him, he's like, "Okay, I've got this crazy idea for this character." Gary Oldman's British, and what was it? I think the director is what was it? Tony Scott, Ridley Scott's brother, if I'm not mistaken. Let me verify that. I'm pretty sure that's correct though, because but I might be wrong. Let me see. I will check, but yeah, Tony Scott, the late Tony Scott, unfortunately. Uh, Tony Scott, Tony Scott directed. I think he directed Crimson Tide too. Um, Pretty sure he did. But yeah, Tony, I know he directed Beverly Hills Cop 2, and he also directed, because he directed Denzel in a couple of movies, because they did Man on Fire. You know, Denzel liked working with Tony Scott, so he worked with him like at least 3 times. I think it was a time travel movie with Jim Caviezel or whatever. There was a lot of stuff going on, but yeah, like I said, back to Tarantino, and I'll bring it back to Seth Rogen. But um, Gary Oldman in the interview, he talked about, because a lot of people love that character that he played in True Romance. Brad Pitt was in that movie too. It was like Brad Pitt wasn't Brad Pitt did, because that thing was he had done like Thelma and Louise. He wasn't, because Brad Pitt had worked. I think he had been on like one what was it, Days of Our Lives or whatever. He had worked as a soap opera actor, and then he got the part in Thelma and Louise, and then he was getting little Hollywood cameos here and there. So it's one of those weird movies. Like like if you go back and watch a movie from like say 30 years ago, even if it's a movie you've probably seen 50 times, you'll be surprised. Sometimes you'll say, "Wait a minute, is that Uma Thurman?" Is that kind of shit. You'll see somebody that wasn't famous then in like a little supporting role, and then how really fucking famous that person is. Uh, Perfect example of that is I went on this kick. I was packing comics and stuff to ship out to different people that had bought, and I was watching Columbo, and I was watching a lot of Columbo. I watched no shit. I watched there's like 70 episodes of Columbo. I was watching all the little TV movies. They're like 90 minutes or whatever. I watched all of them. I watched all them damn Columbo movies. I was watching Columbo, and I started at the very beginning, like Columbo, the first Columbo movie, and worked it all the way up to the end, which I think the last one is the very last Columbo movie is called Columbo Night Likes the Nightlife. and that one was done in like what 2001, 2002, around that time. That's the very last time Peter Falk played Columbo. But my mom loved Columbo, so it's like I always talk about a lot of shit like that because, like in my comic book brand, there's a character called Charo, and the reason I called her Charo is because my mom used to watch Love Boat all the time. My mom loved those old. She loved Aaron Spelling shows, so she watched a Dynasty. She watched what was it? She watched Fantasy Island, Love Boat. She watched all that shit. So anything that what Charlie, we used to see Charlie's Angels, um, but Charo, I think she had the record for the most appearances on the Love Boat. She appeared on there like 13 times or whatever. There's some kind of thing where her and another guy they had multiple appearances on the Love Boat, but I think Charo made multiple appearances on the Love Boat. Coochie coochie. But Charo, I used to see Charo on the Love Boat all the time. My mom loved Love Boat, so when I had that B character in Brand, I named her Charo as a little nod to my mother. That's why she's called Charo. Um, but yeah, Gary Oldman said that Tony Scott had basically told him, he said, your character is a white guy that thinks he's a black guy. And Gary Oldman thought it was hilarious. He was like, "Oh, he's joking with me," and he realized, no, he's serious. And when you see, once Gary Oldman knew it was for real and it wasn't, the guy wasn't busting his balls and just joking around with him, he goes, "Okay, let's see what I can do with this." And if you saw True Romance, you know how outstanding Gary Oldman's performance was in that film. He was fucking incredible, and he got lost in that character. He had the dreads, and oh my god, and that's one thing I always knock British actors when they do an American accent. It sounds, a lot of times, I'm an accent whore, so a lot of times I'll hear a British actor and they'll try to do an American accent and it sounds very strained, very whiny. Um, Listen to what was the guy that played Hans Gruber in the Die Hard movies. I can't. He was what, Professor Snape in the Harry Potter movies and stuff. I can't remember his name. Alan Rickman. I think that's him. Alan. I think that's it. Alan. Okay, hold up. Now I gotta see, guys. I gotta look again. Hold up. Let me make sure. I know it's Alan Rick. It is Alan Rickman, the late Alan Rickman. Yeah. So yeah, that's him. It is him. Okay. Well, rest in peace to Alan Rickman. But I had to, yeah, I had to look that up because I was like, um, listen to when he played Hans Gruber in Beverly, well, I mean, not Beverly, in Die Hard, when he played Hans Gruber. He kind of had, when he had this, remember that scene where him and Bruce Willis finally meet, and Bruce Willis pulled the gun on him and did not know that he was actually one of the terrorists. And Alan Rickman, who is very British, he goes, "Oh my God, oh God, I was so," and he had this weird kind of, his accent was kind of, I mean, and don't get me wrong, Die Hard's a fucking great movie. I've seen Die Hard like 50 times. No shit. I've got the box set of the original trilogy. I hear they're making another one, and that's one thing. Well, I was like, God damn it, Bruce, you've done Die Hard like, I think, what have they done? Seven of them or six of them? I think it's six. Cause yeah, was it the first Die Hard 2, Die Hard with a Vengeance, and then there's a Live Free or Die Hard, and there's some, so there's at least five or something. There's something I don't know, but the rumors are saying that Bruce is going to do another Die Hard, But yeah, listen to that scene where Alan Rickman, where Bruce Willis gets the drop on him, but Bruce does not realize that he's one of the terrorists. He goes, "Oh my god, thank you so much, man!" Yeah. And he does this kind of weird. It's supposed to be an American accent, and I think a lot of times with these actors, they kind of do they go kind of Valley Girl surfer. It's like his accent is very strange. I think that's how they think Americans sound. Um, you can also listen to watch Iron Man 3 and what was the guy that played Mandarin in there? British Ben Kingsley, Sir Ben Kingsley. He's been knighted, so I want to make sure I get that give him his proper due. But Sir Ben Kingsley, he was doing that. He was doing Mandarin with that Southern preacher accent, which I thought was brilliant. By the way, I know people shitted on Iron Man 3. Uh, I didn't like the way they did. I really wished he had been the Mandarin for real. And I'm talking Mandarin with the 10 rings that all have different abilities. And that's why I was like, they're doing the way they're doing it with Shang-Chi. They're doing that Shang-Chi movie that's coming out in September. He's got armbands. He's not wearing the 10 rings that he's wearing are armbands. That kind of pissed me off when I saw the trailer. He had fucking armbands. He had 5 on each arm, but it's not just. No, the Mandarin wears fucking rings. He has 10 rings on it. That's why it's called the fucking 10 rings. The order of the 10 rings and all that shit. That's it, because he has 10 fucking rings. It's not called the order of the armband, you dumbass. That's somebody that doesn't really read comics. That's fucking, what's that guy? Damn, that makes all those fucking you know those fucking uh you know Transformers and all that shit. um Damn, now I gotta look him up. I'm looking up everybody's fucking name. Here we go. Michael Bay. Yeah, Michael Bay's motherfucking ass that admits that he doesn't like the shit, but he just wanted to make a movie where he could blow shit up. That's the worst fucking thing. That always threw me off about those fucking Transformers and shit like that. And he did the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie where he's admitting that he make the movie, but he's not a fan. Oh, I'm gonna make a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, but I'm not a fan. I'm gonna make a Transformers movie, but I'm not a fan. I feel like you miss certain things. Like, I'm a fan. So if I'm making a movie, you give me that budget and I'm making a movie, I'm throwing shit in that other Transformers fans are going to go, this motherfucker's a fan. He recognizes the shit. That's why like he missed something on the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie was one, and then the second Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie was a little better. They seemed like but that first one got out of hand. That shit got crazy, and you can tell that motherfucker. That's why they making another Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, but Michael Bay is just gonna like sit back. I think they just paying him. He's gonna be like a silent producer on the shit because he had the film rights, so they can't just make him. He had like optioned the film rights, so because he owned the film rights, you can't just make another movie unless he gets a piece. So that's kind of the way I'm seeing it, but it is what it is. But yeah, um, I don't know. I done said so much shit. Y'all know how I do. I just be talking. Uh, that's how I get through these. I remember somebody was listening to this a couple weeks ago, and they go, "How do you talk so long?" And I was like, "I honestly don't know. I just sit there. I feel like here's what when I had a conversation, I kind of know where I want to start, and then I imagine the person that is listening to me right now. I'm imagining you're sitting right here with me, and I'm talking directly to you, but I'm not letting you get a word in edgewise. I'm getting all my shit in, and I'm not taking a pause so that you can like respond and add your shit in. So I'm hogging up all the conversation, but that's what the fuck I do. Okay. So let me see, because I got more shit to say. So I still got. Sometimes I have notes because I was like, okay, I need to say this. I need to say that. Like, and I mean, they're very basic notes. Talk about this. Talk about that, and talk about that. Because I know once I start talking about it, I'm just gonna ramble the fuck on, and I'll get through it. And I'm looking at my counter to see how long I've been talking because I want these to be kind of like at least an hour to 90 minutes long, so I can kind of tell how long I've been running my mouth. But yeah, like I said, definitely check out True Romance because I really, like I said, Tarantino wrote that, um, and I thought the dialogue in that was really good. But like I said, he has an ear for dialogue and nigga, 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 nigga. But um, maybe Nick Cage. So I'm going back to the Seth Rogen shit. Maybe Nicolas Cage was inspired by Gary Oldman's performance in True Romance, and that's why he told Seth Rogen that he wanted to play a white Jamaican guy in the Green Hornet movie, but Seth Rogen thought he was out of his fucking mind and just he kind of it sounded like he was kind of goofing on Nick Cage and the Howard Stern shit and the stuff he wrote in his book. And the I think it was TMZ, but they got a quote somebody because it this went viral. Um, I think they wanted Nicolas Cage. I think it was TMZ, but they've tracked him down and they got a statement from him and wanted him to respond to the because like I said, Seth kind of shitted on him. They wanted him to respond to the stuff that Seth Rogen said about him about wanting to play the white Jamaican guy and like thinking that shit was corny and goofy and shit. And I think Nick Cage actually took the high ground, so that was kind of interesting because Nick Cage was like, um, "I like it. What he said. This is the quote. He said, "I like Seth Rogen. He's a good guy. I wish him success with his book." And he just kept it moving. He didn't say no, even though Seth shit all over him and said his idea was stupid and was goofing on him. He said, I like Seth Rogen. He's a good guy. I wish him success with his book. And he just kept it moving. He didn't say no fuck shit. He didn't go, hey, fuck that guy. I'm a brilliant guy with an Oscar. Because remember, Nicolas Cage does have a fucking Oscar and he's been nominated for multiple Oscars. Yeah, a brilliant actor. Nick Cage is I mean, he's just absolutely brilliant. But he just took the high road. Like I said, I know that whoever that was that asked him and was trying to get a response was trying to get him to say some salacious fuck shit so that it could keep going back and forth or whatnot. And Nick Cage was just like, hey man, I like Seth. He's a good guy. Wish him success with his book. And he just kept it moving. And you gotta respect that, man, because you know, you just don't feed the beast. So okay. So let me see. There was another. Okay, so this is the main one. This is my this is what made me want to talk about Seth Rogen on this particular episode was the other story that he told that got a lot of traction and it was trending and stuff in different interviews is he told a story about Eddie Griffith. Eddie Griffin, who had, uh, as far as uh, really successful comedian. Um, did multiple like HBO specials and all that kind. Eddie Griffin was on. What was he on? Malcolm and Eddie. Been in a bunch of hood movies and shit. Like I really like Eddie Griffin. What was it? What was it? That one movie he did, The New Guy. I can't remember that actor that guy that played. He's always man. That guy. He had really weird looking face, but he was in like Hustle and Flow and different movies. But if you watch the new guy, Eddie Griffin is in there, and he's the guy that teaches the new guy how to make how to do the face that was supposed to, you just got out the joint and you give him that look and all that. That whole thing was weird. I didn't expect to like that movie. But I like Eddie Griffin. Like I said, especially in Malcolm and Eddie. at least the first couple seasons of Malcolm and Eddie, I really liked the show, and then by the like that, it was starting to get a little about that third or so season. I was ready for it to go, but that's just me. But apparently Eddie Griffin ran into Seth Rogen. They were both at some big studio management office or whatever, and they both hopped in the elevator, and maybe Eddie did not hear the answer. He was trying to get a movie financed or whatever. And Seth is like, "Hey, Eddie, how you doing?" Being friendly and whatnot. And Eddie apparently was upset, and he goes, he said, "Man," he said, "I'm struggling to get one movie made, and they make all your movies because you're fucking Jewish." And so now this is, like I said, this story that Seth has told on Howard Stern show and a couple other places. This story is in Seth Rogen's book Yearbook, and matter of fact, I'll probably put Yearbook in the description or something if somebody wants to check it out. But he put the story, and he just said that Eddie Griffith was being really anti-Semitic, and it it's sad, but there's a lot of truth to what. Let me see, because there's if you type it in, there's a story. I'm pulling this up from Seth Rogen's Twitter, and this is from March 19th of 2014, and this tweet is still up, and it says, "Fun Hollywood story. One time, Eddie Griffin screamed an anti-Semitic rant at me while in an elevator in Las Vegas." And apparently, Eddie Griffin, because he didn't tag him in it. He made the tweet. This was on March 19th of 2014. Now, Eddie Griffin apparently responded to him, and I don't know what he said because he's deleted the tweet. Eddie Griffin deleted his tweet, but Seth Rogen's is still up. And then um, Seth Rogen responded to Eddie Griffin. So whatever Eddie said, he must have been like, "Yeah, let me just delete this shit." But whatever Eddie said, Seth Rogen responded back to him on March 24th of 2014 and just said, "Are you fucking kidding me?" Um, but yeah, I mean, so that's but he told that story. Um, let me see that he yeah, Eddie Griffin was anti-Semitic towards him, and he talked about it on Jimmy Kimmel. He's told a lot of these stories. So um yeah, the whole thing was weird, and I don't just yeah. Okay, let me see. Topping off his Vegas history with the story of how he and his writing partner and lifelong BFF, Evan Goldberg, did some unsanctioned location work for Knocked Up. I actually like that movie Knocked Up, even though the female lead, she went on Grey's Anatomy and she's a bitch, and I'm not a big fan of hers. And I kind of said something like that when I had you can go back and listen to the podcast I did with Isaiah Washington, and kind of he didn't want to even mention the chick's name, but she had kind of threw some shade at him like a day or so before me and him had did that interview, and so I thought that was weird. I was like, this shit happened like 13 years ago, and this bitch is still keeping this shit up. I can't remember. I can't even remember the bitch name. But I just know she can be a little cunty. But let's see here. Let's see. Lifelong Evan Goldberg did some unsanctioned location work for Knocked Up by attending every Cirque du Soleil show on this trip on mushrooms. So he was high, which I don't have a problem with that. Rogan told Kimmel that that particular experience was something of a mixed bag, noting blah blah blah. And I'm like, but there was a thing about I'm trying to find the thing where he was talking about where's the shit about Eddie. I had to. I wish I'd see if I was more prepared. I would have this shit. And okay, there's the one about Nicolas Cage. Let me see. And um, let's see. Yeah. No. Damn. Yeah. Okay. Hold up. Oh, this is Jewish week. Okay. Oh wow. So this is a apparently a the New York Jewish week. Okay, so they make sure like if someone Jewish says someone is being anti-Semitic, these publications will make sure that they spread the word. And I kind of wish the black press would do shit like that. Like, hey, make sure these motherfuckers they put these motherfuckers on blast. Um. Oh, okay. Hold up. So this is an interview. Oh, okay, this is him. This is a new interview that he did. They just published this. Let's see. How does it feel to become a star and be part of a group of Jewish actors who have risen to fame? And Seth goes, "Well, I do work with non-Jewish actors as well." And he kind of chuckles and he goes, "But I mean, yeah, I do feel very fortunate." Ever experience any anti-Semitism? Now, see, this is a loaded question because, like I said, for the last few weeks, Seth Rogen has been doing his press for his book. So he's told the Eddie Griffin story multiple times. And as you know from the tweet that I read, that came all the way back in 2014. So he's been telling this Eddie Griffin yelled anti-Semitic shit at me in the elevator in Las Vegas. He's been telling that story for years. So let me see. Coming out of an elevator in Vegas, Eddie Griffin was yelling at me. He said, Jews run Hollywood. He was saying that his career couldn't go in the direction he would have liked. And then the reporter goes, because he wasn't Jewish. And here is Seth Rogen saying, yeah. Um, Let me see. The reporter, was he serious? Uh, and then Seth goes, he seemed pretty angry. And Seth Rogen said a lot of shit because he talked about James Franco too. And anybody who watched Seth Rogen movies knows that him and James Franco was real tight. They did a bunch of movies together. They did what Pineapple Express and different what was Super Bad. They fuck with each other. They was homies. And then James Franco got me too. And matter of fact, I know he just settled with two different women. I mean, he's not going to jail, but he just paid off two of the women that were saying that he like inappropriately sexually or molested them or raped them or did, he was getting accused of all kinds of shit. And I've enjoyed James Franco's work. Um And Seth Rogen came out and said that, somebody asked him because of all the shit that's been going on with him, hey man, any chance you and James Franco is gonna work together? And he goes, and he talked about, he didn't want to touch a lot of the weird sexual accusations or whatever that have happened, but he was like, he was just honest and he has no plans on working with James anymore. So, he put it out there and he just kind of left it where it is. So that's what it is. And yeah. I thought it was kind of weird though, because he like said they're obviously not working. But he said something like, "I have no plans to work with him at this time." But I wanted to touch on the Eddie Griffin conversation because I thought it was very interesting. Because, like I said, as he went in depth on it on like Howard Stern and some of the other ones that I've heard him tell that story, um, Seth, you do kind of have to realize that what Eddie was saying, there was he didn't have to sound like he may have went a little extra with it, but there is some truth to what he was saying. Um, Sometimes black folks will talk about not having the complexion for the connection, and that's a real thing in Hollywood. Matter of fact, there's a book, you can check it out. It's called An Empire of Their Own: How the Jews Invented Hollywood. It's written by an author named Neil Gabler. But you can check that out on Amazon. Um, and it basically breaks down how like Metro Golden Mayer and Warner Brother Warner Brothers and all these different studios that were the founders of Hollywood kind of came to be. And newsflash, all those guys that were running those studios were Jewish. That's not a lot of Jewish people are in show business, and they're either actors, producers, writers, they're the business agents and lawyers. Um, so the fact, remember, Seth Rogen's not even American; he's from Canada, so he's Jewish, and he comes over to America, and I make it sound like he got on a boat. It's like Schindler's List or something. He just immigrated over. 50 goes west, but I mean, hell, he just came over the border. And he was like, "Oh, I'm in America. Let me go to Hollywood." But he came over to America. He started working, and he just made connections, and it's kind of, I don't know. I don't know if I would say it's fair to go, oh, he just got one, because there's a lot of Jewish guys that are working in Hollywood, and they're like fucking gophers or whatever. They're not, you know what I'm saying? They're not stars, and they're like, hey, I'm Jewish too. It's not, but if he made a couple of good connections, and then he built on those connections, and then he built on those other connections, and Eddie Griffith. That's the thing. Who was it? There was one. There was a guy doing an interview, um, and he was talking about, with black actors, they don't allow but so many black, black people to be featured at one time. So right now, it's like Kevin Hart. They tried to do it, Dave Chappelle, and then Dave Chappelle, quote unquote, went crazy, which, again, like, I know Dave Chappelle will probably never hear this, but I know Dave Chappelle didn't go crazy. I don't want Dave Chappelle thinking that I think he went crazy. I know what the fuck that was, and he actually, he actually saw some fuck shit was going on, and he needed to separate himself from that situation. And then, he talked about, he went over, by the time he got to South Africa, he went to South Africa, and all of a sudden he was, there were like media reports that he was on like fucking drugs, and like, he was on cocaine or whatever the fuck. They had all kind of lies about what happened with Dave Chappelle, because he walked away from $50 million. And I've talked about that $50 million that he could have got is a fraction upon a fraction and a fraction of the hundreds of millions of dollars that his show had generated. And like I said, he talked about, when he was on Joe Rogan the other week, he talked about, them all sitting down at the table and working that shit out, and he, where now he's actually getting, he can use his name again. He can do certain things. So that's I'm happy they all worked that out. But yeah, if he had just motherfuckers are always like, yeah, man, just take that little money and don't look at the mountain of other money that they're hiding from you. Just take that little bit that they're offering you and be thankful for that. But um, I say all that to say that Seth, Seth actually being Jewish, it probably didn't hurt him. I mean, he can't he can't not that he would want to, but I mean, he was born the way he was born, just like Eddie Griffin was born the way he was born. But to pretend, like I said, you have a right to be offended by what Eddie said to you. Because, like I said, the story you told, it sounded like Eddie was just, Eddie didn't quite get, maybe Eddie couldn't get his movie. I've seen a lot of those movies, man. That's why Eddie, what was he doing? What was that movie he did with the the uh the Gigolo or what Deuce Bigelow. Yeah, Deuce Bigelow, male Gigolo, and then he did the second one. So, there's Eddie's never been, even when he did the lead in that one, the Afro guy, the black superhero, the black spy brother, what was it? Undercover brother. That's what it was. You mess with the fro, you gots to go. That, which, like I said, I know some folks that Undercover Brother was all right, um, but it didn't blow. That movie wasn't like a massive hit. That's one of those movies that black people watch. It's like Soul Plane. Like, it's one of those movies where, a lot of people forget Kevin Hart was in fucking Soul Plane. That movie was like 20 some years ago, 20 years ago, 22, something like that. Soul Plane came out a minute ago, and I heard Kevin Hart. He said, "Man, motherfuckers still come up to me talking about they see me in Soul Plane." And he said it was 2 decades ago, and motherfuckers are still talking about Soul Plane. And that movie, remember, that movie bombed at the box office. That's one of those movies that was a bomb, and then they released it on home video, and niggas passed it and bootlegged it and everything. That's one of those movies. That's why. That movie failed, and then black people made that movie a hit. From they got it on. I saw a list I typed in like black movies on Amazon just to see, because I was putting a list. I have they had contacted me, Amazon, and they wanted me to do. Uh, they have an influencer program, and they wanted. Matter of fact, I think if you type in Akari Press on Amazon, my list will come up. But I have a couple of lists on Amazon. So I said I want to do a list of like black movies. So I wanted to see, black. I wanted the list to have like black movies, black books, different, stuff, that was created by black people for black people. Um, so black authors, black, I wanted, any black filmmakers. That's the kind of stuff. So I typed in like black movies and shit, and they had this real cheap ass DVD set of like nigga movies. It was like, if you a nigga, you can watch these 3 movies. So it was like the it was like a 3 DVD set for like $15, and it had like three hood movies in it, like Set It Off, and one of them horrible movies like Baby Boy with Tyrese, shit like that they think black folks want to watch. And of course, one of the movies was Soul Plane. Soul Plane, Soul Food, any movies that came out like in the late night, like Boys in the Hood. It's like, okay, let's put Boys in the Hood, Set It Off, and New Jack City on one disc for like $12, $13. And Amazon's filled with those. It's a 3 disc, and I mean it's not 3 discs. It's three movies on one disc. So the reason and the reason those movies are so cheap is because when they release a single movie on one disc, you don't have to compress the movie as much. So you can get that higher resolution and stuff. These movies are put three movies are put on one disc because you know you had those compression issues. You're not gonna get the higher resolution, all that kind of stuff, but you getting three movies real cheap. Matter of fact, those same little movies that they charging like about 12 to $15 for, those are those same movies. You go to Walmart and they got the $5 bin. I've seen a bunch of those movies where it'll be $5 and there'll be like two movies on there. And it's like, oh, okay. Matter of fact, what was it? I was at Walmart and you go to the $5 bin and they had a thing in there and it had Friday and next Friday. That's what so it had two movies on there and you can get it for $5. But they do that because black people like watching movies. So, oh, let's get House Party and House Party 2 on there for $5. And the Walmart $5. Sometimes when I go by Walmart and I look at, I'll kind of flip through the $5 bin and kind of see, um, and see this is me. They had a lot of hood movies in there, right? But they also had a Blu-ray. Now this is what I bought. They had a Blu-ray disc of No Country for Old Men in there on Blu-ray for $5. Now, if you know, that's the what's that? That's the Coen brothers. It's an Oscar winner. Javier Bardot or whatever. Bardot, what is it? Javier Bardot, whatever the fuck his name. Tommy Lee Jones is in. It's an Academy Award winning film. I thought it was a mistake. I took it. I said, "Shit, this is a great movie." If they have No Country for Old Men for $5, I'm finna buy this shit. And they also had Denzel Washington in Man on Fire, which was directed by Tony Scott, and that was $5. It wasn't on Blu-ray though; it was just on regular DVD. But the No Country for Old Men was on Blu-ray. I said, "Shit, $5? No Academy Award winning film that's great for $5." And No Country for Old Men. I mean, Man on Fire. I took the Man on Fire. Bam, got that. And then I took No Country for Old Men. I went up to the cashier. I said, "Hey, this movie was in the $5 bin. It's on Blu-ray. Is this movie really $5?" They did a price check on it, scanned it. Bloop. It was like $4.99. They said, "Yeah, this is for real. It's $5." I said, "Shit." I took that movie. It wasn't. I was like, hell. And I mean, like I said, it's a Blu-ray with directors, commentary, and everything. I said, "Oh shit, that's the lick right there." So I took that, and then oh yeah, what was that Johnny Depp cartoon? I think it was called Ringo or something. Where he played. It was a animated movie. I think it was through DreamWorks where he was like a lizard. He was, it was a Ringo. It was pretty funny. So I bought three movies, $5 each. Man on Fire, Ringo, and the Blu-ray. Those two were both on regular DVD. And then I bought the Blu-ray of No Country for Old Men. And all three of them were $5 each. But the rest of those movies that they had in the $5 bin, they was trash as fuck. And I mean, and a lot of them had two or three movies on one disc. It was like, hey, National Lamp. Well, don't I'm not shitting on. I love the National Lampoon movies, but that's the type of movies you would see in there. It would be like National Lampoon 2 and 3, all on one disc. It's that, and then like I said, a couple of hood movies like Boys in the Hood, New Jack City. It would be that kind of shit. That's what you would see in there. It'd be like 2 in 1, $5, and that's what was popping up on Amazon. Like except for two, it'd be three movies for like $12 on a disc. And like I said, Soul Plane bombed, but they keep releasing it on DVD. Why? Because it's become this thing where it's being passed around black circles. Black people blew that movie up, and then, I mean the movie was made for black people, and it bombed in the theater. But then it's one of those movies that has generated millions and millions and millions of dollars because it's now streaming on cable and all that kind of shit. Black people made that shit hot because we kept fucking with it even though it bombed out in the theater. It's like it's one of those movies. Um, Matter of fact, a movie like Titanic. Titanic, when they spent all that money on Titanic. When Titanic first dropped, they it didn't make a bunch of money that first opening weekend. It did okay, but then the next week came, and then the next week came, and then the next week came. Titanic benefited from having a long run in the theater, and after a few weeks, the word of mouth, they actually started making more money as the movie progressed. And that was one of they said, wait a minute. No, if you notice, if you ever watch like Box Office Mojo or one of those type sites, if you notice when the movie first comes out, they look at the second week track. They'll drop it to the very next week, and they go, "Oh shit, it dropped." They can tell when a movie's about to be a bomb because, like a hit movie, they say, "Oh, it only had like a 30% drop off from the first week." And then, like, if a movie, like say a movie has a big opening that first weekend, like, oh shit, this movie did 70, 100 million the first week. So okay, it did 100 million the first week. Okay. So by rights, when it come back the next week, it should still be able to do 45, 50, 60 million dollars. If you do 100 million and it come back and you do 65, they go, okay, that's that's an okay drop off, right? But if you do 100 million the first week and then you come back the next week and you only do like 27 million, people go, oh shit, okay. Um, it may not do the numbers we thought it was gonna do. That's a problem. And it's shit like that that's why they track. The movie is going to drop out, because most people they like, oh, it's opening weekend, I want to go see it. But it's how bad it dropped. And one thing they talked about with Titanic is instead of the drop, the build started happening. It started getting, this movie. This movie is remember this is the highest grossing movie of all. Well, it was the highest grossing movie of all time, and then Star Wars got it back, and then Avatar got it, and then they put Titanic out in the theater again, and it took it again, and then they put Star Wars back, and it took it again, and then well, it was a couple months ago. Matter of fact, I think a couple months ago, George Lucas had put out some kind of thing, and he congratulated James Cameron on retaking the crown from Star Wars or something like that. And I saw the Marvel people did it too, because like one of the Avengers movies had ended up I think Avengers Endgame had ended up dethroning Avatar as the highest grossing movie of all time. And then they put Avatar back in the theater for like a week or something, and it ended up retaking because apparently he's working on shooting Avatar 2 and 3 right now. I can't wait. I can't wait to see the new Avatar movies. I know them. I loved Avatar. Some people didn't like it. Man, Avatar was dope to me. I love that shit. I fuck with Avatar. I thought that shit was dope. Um, that's just me though. I thought that shit was dope. I fucked with it. The special effect, especially I saw it. I saw it in 3D. I had the glasses. And I can't even hell. What was that like 10 years ago? I can only imagine how the technology they spent so much money on the technology then. Look at how great television looks now. The technology has like quadrupled since the first Avatar was made, and they were pushing the boundaries for technology then. The way Avatar, the new Avatar, matter of fact, one of the avatars is supposed to take place underwater. That was one of the things that they're supposed to go, like, I think in the second one, they're supposed to start exploring more of the world, and they've got like an underwater group of people, and they're supposed to go down underwater and explore some of that. There's some cool shit that was being teased. I hope these movies are actually, I don't know if they're actually filming, but they had gotten everybody agreed to come back and everything. So I'm looking forward to seeing that shit. Um but yeah, that's what it is. That's it. No, I've been talking way too long, and I probably didn't make my point. And I know I talked to, yeah, Seth Rogen, but oh yeah, I was trying to talk about Seth Rogen, but um, Seth Rogen, yeah. Sometimes black people, when they try to get these movies made, at least before my man that did the Medea movies and shit, Tyler Perry. Tyler Perry, that's why he created the what Tyler Perry has created with his studio is hope for black filmmakers and black creators, because he's employing a lot of black people, and he's using his connections and giving black folks opportunities that they were getting shut down from, trying to get shit done in Hollywood. That's why you have a lot of I think about an old movie from, like, what was that, 86, 87. Robert Townsend made that movie Hollywood Shuffle with him and Keenan Ivory Wayans. And they made that movie, and I've listened to Robert Townsend talk about. I wish I could I would love to interview Robert Townsend. Maybe I'll see if he would. I'll send him a DM and see if I can get him on. I would love to talk to him about that. But I've heard him talk about how he was maxing credit cards out, the different things that they was having to do to shoot, because they couldn't afford film permits, and they would shoot on the street, and then they'd have to move real quick, and all the different things that they were doing. Uh, those, to be a black filmmaker, and then once you go mainstream, you obviously have opportunities. But um, I would just love to hear that story, and and get more in depth in it. But yeah. Well, hell, like I said, it's been an hour and a half. I've been running my mouth. I probably didn't make any points, but I appreciate you. If you're still here listening to me run my mouth, I appreciate it. Seth Rogen, Paul Mooney, uh, Eddie Griffin apparently is anti-Semitic. And yeah. But with that being said, I'm going to get out of here. Of course, again, check out my podcast, youtube.com/Akari Press. If you want to check my YouTube channel out, the podcast is, of course, available on Apple Podcasts, Google, Spotify, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and Audible. And of course, you can go directly to anchor.fm/Akari Press. Got a thing on there where you can, like, leave me a voicemail. You can, like, leave me a little tip. Say you want to tip me a night. It costs like 99 cents a month if you want to do that. So let's see. My comic Daym drops, super official DaymComic.com, and of course brand Way of the Gun at AkariPress.com. And don't forget about Southern Muffin. Like I said, 20% off. Do southernmuffin.com. Put some stuffing on your muffin, baby. And episode 97, I will be number, because yeah, it's apparently we're coming up to episode 100, so that's going to be interesting. Episode 100 of the Akari Press podcast. Uh, whew, that's a lot of pressure. All right, but thank you guys that have been listening. I appreciate you guys. And the Akari Press podcast is over. I'm out.